Okay, so close your eyes just for a second. Or no, don't close your eyes. You know what? Keep your eyes open because you have to watch this video, unless you're on Spotify and you're listening to this via audio. But just imagine, just imagine waking up to one day only to find out that hey, guess what? Your voice, your thoughts, your opinions, everything you've ever said or believed in has actually been wiped out from the digital world. Now, it's not because you've committed a crime, but because someone somewhere decided that, hey, what you had to say or what you said was too dangerous or too controversial or too unsettling for public consumption. Now, what you like to know, this is actually not, this picture I'm painting to you is actually not some dystopian fantasy. It's actually reality that we're actually inching towards every single day, especially as of August 2024. Because look, from the halls of Washington all the way to Silicon Valley boardrooms, the battle between censorship and freedom of speech is actually being fought right now, and the stakes couldn't be any higher than it is right now. So, with that said, with no further ado, like Freddie, we actually want to dive deep into the dark waters of censorship and the erosion of freedom of speech. In this video, we want to uncover the uncomfortable truths behind how governments and corporations are manipulating the free flow of information, and sometimes with the best intentions, but often, whether we like or not, with dire consequences. By the end of this video, I want you to be able to understand not only the forces that are in play, but also the potential future that awaits us if this trend continues unchecked. So we have censorship versus freedom of speech. Man, these two forces, whether we like it or not, have been at odds since the dawn of human communication. Trust me, way longer than the US versus Russia. In this video, we actually want to explore the delicate balance between maintaining societal order and protecting the fundamental rights to express oneself. We also want to look at the recent high-profile cases, including Zuckerberg's revelation about being pressured by the Biden-Harris administration to censor content on Meta platforms. Yes, that was a surprise. The banning of X, formerly known as Twitter, in countries like Nigeria, and of recent, in August 2024, Brazil. And also the looming threat of the TikTok ban in the US. Wow, that was something. But we also don't want to stop there. We actually want to dissect the causes behind these actions, the effects they have on society, and also, and most importantly, propose solutions to actually ensure that voices of the people are never silenced. So let's start with a critical look at what I call the modern censorship complex. Because in today's weird world, whatever like it or not, censorship isn't just about governments banning books or jailing dissidents. It's actually more insidious. It's actually about controlling narratives through digital platforms that billions of people use every day. Take for an example the Zuckerberg confession. I know that shocked a lot of people. That confession had the CEO of Meta, formerly known as Facebook, admitting to his platforms being pressured by Biden-Harris administration to censor certain content. Now, this is not just a random accusation. It's actually a direct indication of how intertwined politics and social media have become. Governments, under the guise of protecting the public, have actually found ways to exert influence over platforms that were once heralded as bastions of free speech. Now let's talk about X, formerly known as Twitter. Hey, Jack Dorsey. In recent years, we've actually seen entire countries such as Nigeria and as of recent, Brazil ban the platform due to disagreements over content moderation. The reason given is actually the fact that governments didn't like how X was being used by activists and citizens to criticize the state. And to be honest, this actually raises a chilling question. When does the desire to maintain national stability become an excuse to suppress free speech? And what about TikTok? The famous Chinese app owned by ByteDance. The platform has actually taken the world by storm, particularly amongst younger audience. And to be honest, it's actually faced potential bans in the US. While concerns over data privacy and foreign influence is actually legitimate, but it's crucial to ask that question that no one seems to be asking. Are we sacrificing freedom of expression in the name of national security? And where does it actually end? Before we continue, I actually want to ask this question. I don't know if you're seeing, if you're seeing what we are seeing, because what we are seeing is a pattern where censorship is actually creeping into our everyday lives under various pretexts. But then what are the consequences of this? What happens when the lines between protecting the public and silencing dissidents become blurred? Look, stick around because the implications are actually far more severe than you might actually think. So, what are the consequences of censorship? When we talk about censorship, it's actually not just about removing a mere tweet or banning a TikTok trend. It's actually about shaping reality. When certain voices are silenced, we lose that diversity and the diversity of thought that is crucial, in fact, very crucial for a healthy society. And to be honest, whether the leaders like it or not, here's the reality: censorship actually breeds ignorance, polarization, and distrust in institutions. That is something we need to really consider. But hey, I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. I don't know if you like numbers. They say numbers don't lie. Sometimes, honestly, sometimes it does. But let me know in the in the comments, if you like numbers. But let's take a look at the numbers, because a study at a research university found that 72% of Americans believe that social media companies have too much power in determining what content people see. That is 72% of Americans, people. 72% means that this isn't just belief. It's a reflection of how these platforms are increasingly seen as arbiters of the truth. And when governments do step in to influence these platforms, what we like to know, the result is actually a dangerous concentration of power. Look, let's take some time to consider the global implications. In countries where X is banned or where TikTok faces severe restrictions, the flow of information is actually not just controlled, it's throttled. People in these regions are being cut off from global conversations, isolated in a bubble of some sort of state approved narratives. I mean, look, for instance, what you have in North Korea. The people there pretty much don't know what's really going on the outside. You know, the psychological impact is just concerning. I'll just be honest with you. It's really concerning. And when people feel they cannot express themselves freely, fear takes root, whether we like it or not. This fear doesn't just silence individuals. No, no, no. It actually stifles innovation. It stifles creativity and even progress. We end up in a society where only the safe ideas are allowed to flourish, while the challenging, controversial, and potentially revolutionary ones are actually buried. Now let's just take a bit of a breather, because it's a bit intense, I can tell. But here's where it gets even more concerning. The more we allow censorship to take hold, the more we risk losing the very freedoms that define our societies. So let's ask ourselves this question, amongst many questions. I know we've asked ourselves a lot of questions, but what can we actually do? And how do we, as a collective, fight back against this encroaching threat? So here's the path forward, or what I feel is the path forward. I could be right, I could be wrong. The solution isn't simple, to be honest with you, but it's actually quite necessary. We need to strike a balance between protecting society and preserving the fundamental rights to free speech. This starts with transparency. Most importantly, social media platforms must be transparent about their content moderation policies and the influence governments have over them. Users should know when and why content is being censored, and they should also have avenues to actually challenge these decisions. I know, weird, right? And good luck to guys like YouTube and Instagram on that. But another key is actually decentralization, and I feel this is even something that we can really work on. Because here's the truth: the more we rely on few mega platforms for our information, the easier it is for governments or corporations to control narratives. By supporting alternative platforms and decentralizing networks, we can actually ensure that no single entity holds too much power over our speech. Another is education. Education is very vital, whether we like it or not. People need to be educated about their rights, the importance of free speech and the danger, of censorship. This isn't just about protecting our current freedoms, it's also about safeguarding the future. Finally, we really need to demand accountability. In fact, we must demand accountability. Governments and corporations must be held accountable for their actions, whether they like it or not. Whatever it's, whether it's pressuring platforms to censor content or outright banning apps, these actions must be scrutinized and, if necessary, challenged in courts. So, to end all this, and by the way, thank you for your time. In conclusion, the battle between censorship and freedom of speech is far from over. It may never be over in our lifetime. It may not be over for the next couple of generations. But we are at a crossroads where the choices we make today will determine the kind of society we live in tomorrow. Will will we allow our voices to be silenced, or will we stand up for our rights to speak freely, especially even when it's comfortable or controversial? The choice at the end of the day is ours, but the consequences of inaction are far too dire for us to ignore. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode. If you find this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more brutally honest content. And let's keep the conversation going in the comments. What do you think about the current state of free speech? Let me know, and even let me know what free speech is like in the country. Or you don't need to mention your country; it's fine. Just let me know what it's like. Let your voices be heard while you still can.